All right, everyone, welcome to Being Human Group's first masterclass of the year. I can't believe it's already the 26th of January. It's been quite a month so far, and can't believe Christmas was a month ago. Welcome to this session. Jeno sends his regards. Unfortunately, he's out of the country at the moment, but I'm sure that if he would have loved to join us here. It's good to see familiar faces as well. So I look forward to great conversations. So Jeno and I had a conversation last year after our last masterclass that we did, and there was one or two coaches that also posed some questions around assisting coaches to get clients. So Sumari, one of the coaches, I'm sure that you all know Sumari. She also contacted me and said, listen, she started working with a guy called Nico, and I thought, oh, who's Nico now? There's always people that wants me to speak to other people and so on, and most of the times it's a good thing. And I thought, oh man, who's Nico? And Sumari was just kept on sending me messages. You gotta speak to Nico. You gotta speak to Nico. So eventually, I caved in under peer pressure, and I spoke to Nico, and we had a great conversation. And we liked the stuff that he was talking about, and he kindly offered to give us a taste of the stuff that he does with coaches. I'm going to Nico. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. I'm pretty sure you can do a much better job than what I can do because you know who Nico is, right? And Nico is also here from Johannesburg, just around the corner here from me, in Linden. What did they? I heard in the week they said Linden is the Stellenbosch of Johannesburg.
That's a great
LULZ.
description.
So Nico, thank you for joining. We're really looking forward to see what you can teach us and share some nuggets with us on how to think about getting clients. As you also in our conversation said that we all learn how to coach, but we don't necessarily learn that business side of things. So we're really looking forward to this afternoon. Thanks, Nico. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Margriet. LZ, I see you say there's only one Stellenbosch. I have to agree. It's true. There is only one Stellenbosch. What a place. Beautiful, Margriet. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's really a privilege for me. I was looking forward to this conversation because helping coaches is an absolute passion. So let me give you a bit of background, and then you'll understand why I say it's a passion for me. When you said, who is this Nico guy? Who is this Nico guy? Just for complete transparency, I'm still asking that same question myself a lot. So let me do the best I can do with the time available. So I started off in academic theology, but I knew I'd never fit into the ministry. So from my very first year of studies, I studied coaching as a sideline. Actually, my very first coaching qualification was a Gallup qualification. So I got my 10 free, and it was from I didn't know Margriet from back then. I did the training for a different institute, and we got 10 free codes, and I got running and just got people to coach, and it was the best thing ever. I absolutely loved it. Like just sitting down with people, slowing down and finding out what makes them tick and helping them see it in themselves and celebrate it in themselves. Oh my word, it was brilliant. Now also my strengths, one of the strengths that feature a lot in my world is activator. So just sitting with people and getting them going was phenomenal, to say the least. So completed the studies, and as I was completing my studies, all the time I got coaching training, more coaching training, more coaching qualification, one after the other. There's a bit of an addiction at that point. And after studies, I started to lecture at the University of the Free State. And on the side, I tried to build a coaching business. And this is where the wheels came off, kind of, right? Because it was all fun and games when I was helping people for free. But the moment I actually tried to build a sustainable business, oh my word, the amount of hojas, things that creeped out of the woodwork was crazy. And then I made a few big calculation errors. And one of the big ones was I thought that if I get qualified enough, like the clients would start streaming through my doors, right? So if I don't have enough clients, I just rack up the next qualification, right? Or I try to up my coaching skills, which is really important. It is really, really important, but it won't get you clients, right? And then the second big mistake that I made is I got really busy trying to look like a coach, trying to look professional. And I struggled with this for a few years. And eventually in 2019, we moved to Johannesburg from Bloemfontein. My wife's a psychologist, and we moved to Bloemfontein, from Bloemfontein to Johannesburg. And I got some big coaching gigs with big coaching companies through my contacts, and they filled my calendar. Like 2020 is going to be a big year. And we started off, I worked for a mining company and a bank, and it was just the corporate coaching life. And then COVID struck. And since I was a freelancer, that's one of the first spaces where I see people are making some observations about Bloemfontein. Bloemfontein is amazing, yo. Just saying. Anyway, so they terminated. I worked for 2 big companies, and both of them terminated all our work. So I just moved to Joburg, and I didn't have income to even pay rent. And then I had to make the coaching business work, or I had to go into the ministry. Now, my fear of the ministry was big enough that I would most definitely try to make the coaching business work. And so I threw everything I had at this, making the coaching business work, making it a viable income. And it was 2020 and 2021 was some of the most terrible times I've had in my life. Being dependent on the income, not knowing how to sell coaching, and also racking up some debt, paying inordinate amount of fees for experts to help me with the social media, and all the different people who promise me I'll get clients. Just pay this 50,000 or this 100,000 and we'll help you, and we'll do it through LinkedIn, and we'll do it through Facebook, and we'll do it through whatever way. And then if I got 3 clients in 2 years using traditional mechanisms, that would have been a lot. I don't think it is even free. And all the time they ask me to position myself as an expert in something. I need to find an ideal client, I need to get an avatar, and I need to position myself as some kind of expert. I need to find out what is the pain point of these people, and then I need to drive a knife in and turn that knife until the pain is so much they have to take my services, they have to buy. And I just, all the time, I felt out of integrity, out of alignment with my deepest core values, because I'm in the profession of supporting, helping transform people. I'm not in the business of hurting, and hurting as a form of manipulation. It just didn't quite make sense. Okay, so I'm going to pause my story there, right? We'll continue the story as the workshop goes along. I really want to get some of your voices in the room as well. So I'm not the only one doing the talking. So I see we're 17 people on the call, so maybe we can use the chat. And the question I would like you to answer is, when you think about your coaching or consulting business at the moment, where you are now, brutally honest, just where you are now, what are 3 words you would use to describe where your business is at the moment, right? Where you are in your business at the moment. Just 3 words. You can post in the chat when you're ready. Janneke, anxious and overwhelmed. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the vulnerability and the honesty. Marita, not there yet. I love it. On way, en route. Sumari, unrealized potential. Chris, where to start? Chris, that was my main question. Just tell me how and where. I'll do it. I just don't know what to do. Derek, growing. Awesome, buddy. Chris, I have to tell you. Okay, we have. Am I saying this correct? Is it Volake? Margriet, Volake?
It is Falake, Nico. Yeah,
Awesome. Can certainly do more. The question is more of what? Derek, growing, grateful, Carla, potential, core essence, truth. LZ, that's so beautiful. We have, is it Holger?
Holger.
Holger. Oh, it's Windhoek, so it's Holger.
Yes.
There we go.
With it hard a G, Holger. That's fine. Thank you, Nico. Yeah.
Awesome. Holger, with a hard G. Holger. Stagnant. Strong and ready for the next phase. Innocent. Beautiful. Holger, you're in the right place today. If you feel stuck in the social media platform, let me tell you, there came a point where if I opened up my LinkedIn profile, I would physically get nauseous.
Oh, thank you, Nico. Yeah, that's where I am. I tell you, I've also had promises left, right, and center. This is the route to go, and you can see it from my gray hair that I and social media are so world apart. It's just mind-boggling what you have to do. Every morning at 7 o'clock do this, and at 9 o'clock do that, and things like that. So, when is business streaming in you? Anyway, I'm with you, my man. So I'm looking forward to the next point on your discussion.
Thank you so much, and I just resonate absolutely with what you're saying. And let's just get the elephant out of the room now in terms of social media. I am not opposed to social media, right? Not at all. Although coaches I assist, support in creating thriving coaching practices, there's a rule when using social media. And that rule is you have to enjoy it. You have to do it as a platform to serve, right? It cannot be a condition to you building the business. That's not a sustainable way of going, right? Of doing it. Now, Holger, I can tell you, you're in the right place because the direction I'm going to point you in, right? The direction I'm going to point you in is a direction that thousands of very awesome coaches have used. Some of them you've never heard about, ever, because they don't even have social media profiles, right? They don't even have a profile. You can't find them. They build practices by referral and invite only. So that's very, very possible. And what my coach tells me every time I get the urge to get 1,000 people on social media and hope they stream through my doors, then he says, you can use social media, right? If you want to scale some business, right? But you don't build a coaching business starting by social media. that will put you in most of the time, it will put you in a out of alignment with integrity. You're going to position yourself as some kind of expert, right? And expertism is a sickness in the coaching industry. An expert doesn't serve the client, but we'll get into that in more detail. Thank you so much for sharing. If I missed reading some of yours, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for sharing. Now, I hope you have something to write on. Just to make a note, I want you to make a note quickly of, and I'm not going to ask you this. I'm not going to actually ask you to share this, but I just want you to make a note of how many clients you have at the moment, right? How many paying clients, right, do you have at the moment? And if you write that number down, how many do you want? Now, don't tell me all of them, right? Get a number. Ideally, if you can get clients paying your ideal coaching rate, what would your practice look like? When I started off, my coach asked me this question. I said 25 clients, and he says, you're gonna die. There's no way, right? So now I run a practice with 10 clients, and I have a waiting list. Right. That's it. So get an idea of what would your ideal practice look like, and where are you now in terms of your clients, right? You don't have to share that. That's for your own sake, going through this process to think about it. All right. So what I want to do next is I want to share a few of the principles and a bit more about my story. At the point at the end of 2020, trying everything to build a business and failing miserably. And actually at this point, I've been failing since 2012. I was actually failing. I haven't been building a real coaching business. I was on my way out of this beautiful, beautiful industry. I was on my way out to find something. I'll go work in sales and sell BMWs or something, just to get an income. And in some ways I was bitter because I have these coaching skills. Like I have these heaps of qualifications, hundreds of thousands of rands spent on coaching qualifications. And I see coaches having clients. I don't have clients, right? And I see coaches having clients and they don't nearly have my expertise, skill level, or qualifications. Sorry, Holger, you asked the question, how long you hold on to your coaching in my mind? Sorry, how long do you hold on to your coachee?
Yeah.
Holger,
So Nico,
sorry.
Sorry, can I just hop in here? So Nico, what I would suggest is, so people can post questions. You keep on your story, and when it's time for questions and answers, then we'll do that. Yeah, Olga, is that all right?
Yeah, no, perfect. Absolutely. It's just something because I mean, Nico was saying he's got a client buys of 10, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, it would be great, but how long do you hold on the coaching for? Okay, but carry on. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you.
We're completely open for questions. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
So I was on my way out, and then I started reading a book by a guy called Michael Neal. The book was very terribly called Super Coach, right? And I didn't have a lot of expectations, but I started reading it, and something in what this guy said resonated with me personally. And then I started watching some of his videos, and I saw that who this guy is being is light and exciting. And he doesn't seem like an expert. He just seems like he really loves people. And it drew me back in. So the guy was called Michael Neal, and it drew me back in. And then I got involved in some of his online groups, and through him I got to a guy called Steve Chandler. Now, if you haven't at this point heard of Steve Chandler, this is gold, right? How to Create Clients by Steve Chandler is one of the best books you'll ever read. And then a second one would be, and we'll send you an email with these links, right? The second one will be The Prosperous Coach by Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin. By show of hands, you can just use the raise hand function. By show of hands, who has read these books? Right? So that would be a phenomenal starting point. Phenomenal starting point. Okay, so I got into this way, and then Steve Chandler ran a coaching school called the ACS, the Acquiring Clients System, and he's been running that school for 15 years. Right, 15 years, and he closed it down and he handed over the reins to a coach called Carolyn Fryer Jones. I'm currently being coached by Carolyn. I'm in her school, and it's phenomenal. So what changed? They demystified the process. They helped me answer the question how to start. And I hope to point you in that direction today. Since the start of getting coached by Carolyn, right? It took me, so my dog may be a little overzealous. It took me 6 months to fill my practice from 1 paying client to 10 clients. For my practice to actually become profitable, it took me 6 months. Now, there's still a lot to do. There's still a very long way to go in terms of what I eventually want to achieve with my business. But I have created an income from my business that can easily support me and my wife by implementing. And then I said, well, if this is working for me, what about other coaches that have the same problem that I had? So I reached out to coaches that and Sumari, this is not aimed at you, but because at this point I still didn't know you. I first reached out to coaches that I knew and were really struggling. One of the coaches started his coaching business when he was 73 years old, right? And he was really struggling. And he was also on his way to give up. And I said, listen, just give me a few months. Let's apply these principles and see what happens. And I can happily report that he has a full coaching business, right? At this moment. He started his coaching business when he was 73. In the last year, he's now 75. In the last year, he's filled it up completely. In the last 6 months, he's doubled his revenue. And he hasn't touched social media at all. Okay. So what are some of these principles that are core to an authentic coaching practice? The first one is learning to sell without selling. Right? People are being sold to every day from all corners of life. The moment you come with your well-structured product, all the defenses go up. Right? And now it's you on the other side of the table trying to convince this person why your product is worth having. Why it's worth them starting to work with you. Benefits and features. What's the benefits and features? What are you going to get? And they have to do this calculation, and they have to part with their precious time and money. Right? And for you to make this argument again, for you to make this argument very well, they don't know you. There's no trust. So to make this argument very well, you need to position yourself as an expert that has the answers. And knowing what real deep coaching is all about, it's messy, right? It's experiment on experiment. Try this, feedback, let's try again, let's change the angle. It's staying in the conversation, right? Being open to try and fail. There's no clean-cut product that's going to take them from A to Z. It's a relationship and a process, and it's it's really intense and challenging and messy. And if you tell people, listen, this is going to be messy, please give me your money, that's not going to work, right? So first, you need to start to learn to sell without selling. And how do we do that? We do that by shifting from selling to serving, right? That's the distinction. Instead of selling, we're going to serve. Right? Selling is egocentric. It's about showing the client how very important your product and you are. And then all the degrees, they start making sense because that's going to show how important you are, or how big the business is. So when you're in selling, in ego, right, what you'll find is you'll get caught up in what we call looking pro, right? And looking pro, some of the questions you'll hear in the looking pro world is my logo simple? Is it memorable, right? Are my certifications impressive? Does my website promote my brand? Is my elevator pitch captivating, right? And the worst one, what's my niche, right? I got to a point when if somebody asked me, so what's your avatar? I wanted to die. Like, if I knew that, why would I hire you? Right? So that's what happens when you get caught up in looking professional. When you get into service, you start turning pro instead of looking pro, meaning you're actually doing the job of a coach. Okay. So here are some of the exciting notes about swapping your selling for serving. What happens? It becomes very doable and very measurable. You stop waiting for the big break, for everything to click in line, like some kind of pipe or funnel, getting that pipe just right so all the people can stream through into your business. You stop waiting for the big brace and the big break, and you embrace the messiness, and you get into the world and start serving people. Right? That's the first one. It becomes very doable and measurable. You start by shifting from getting clients to building quality relationships. Right? Now you can already feel the shift, right? You can feel the shift of what it's like getting up in the morning, getting ready for a day of failed sales calls, right? Versus getting ready for a day of relationship building, a day of serving, right? So you'll serve more people. In this way, you'll serve more people. That's a promise. And not all of them will become clients. But the ones that really resonate, they become clients, right? The ones are really on your frequency. So instead of creating this persona that they now need to buy, you start connecting with more and more people, right? And you attract and resonate with people that would really appreciate your coaching. Some clients, I don't know what your level of expertise and experience are. Some clients feel effortless. They're just committed to the process and they enjoy every moment, although it's challenging. What if your whole business were full of those clients? That's really possible, right? So this is the this is the core, and you'll learn this in chapter 1 of Steve's book, How to Get Clients. People don't want coaching. Newsflash. Right? Even if somebody gives you coaching for free, it's like, I'll give you a free coaching session. What they hear is, I'm gonna have a free session of somebody telling me what I'm doing wrong. Right? And maybe us as coaches, maybe we have a different experience of coaching, but that's not what people think when they have no idea what coaching is, what the feeling of coaching, what the experience of coaching is, most people. And a lot of them also have a bad experience because there's a lot of charlatans. So when you say, I'll offer you a free coaching session, oh my word. People don't want coaching. People want problems solved. People want to be understood. People want safe spaces where they can trust and think clearly and with support. And therefore, we don't sell coaching, definitely not on the first round. Now, just to give you an idea, our coach that's 75 years old, he intentionally created the space for his clients to renew, which is part of how we approach the coaching process. So that's not something a client will come up with, like, I can't wait to pay you more money. And clients buy coaching and they're like, we're going to solve this and then we're done. They don't have in their back of their mind, like, I can't wait for renewal. Right? And this coach has 5 clients. And he just last week, he celebrated with us. He has 5 renewals. Right? People are going to work with him for more than 6 months or even a year to continue working. Why? Because he has painstakingly taken the time to create each of these clients, to create their relationship by serving the people. Right? Now, I have some clay here. You can see. I hope you can see my bowl of clay. So I spoke to a group of coaches 2 days ago, and I took the clay out and I put all the colors together. And my wife came home, and this is actually the clay she uses for therapy with kids. And then she's like, "You're going to buy me new clay because all the colors are mushed, and I don't seem like I'm going to get them out." I tried. I'm actually not going to get them back, and they're separate little. So just so you know, I'm paying for this, Magritte. I have an investment into this workshop. So what happens when you are focused on looking professional? When you're focused on the ego side, not on the service side, right? What happens is you are trying to impress your client. And that's all you're thinking about. Like, how can I impress them with my knowledge, with my skill set, right? Now, our Steve Chandler, it's such a privilege working with him. Now, Steve Chandler will always say, if you think about the impression, what is an impression? If you think about this clay, if I take my fist and I push it into this clay, there we have an impression, right? That's an impression. Now, for a moment, just imagine you invite somebody for a conversation. This is your client. Now, let's impress them. Let's really impress them, right? Does that look comfortable? Does that look fun? It's not a cool experience when you get into a conversation and the other, looks depressing. I love it. I'll say it. That's exactly what happens. We get into conversations and because we're selling, we need to impress. Right? Service is about really caring, really slowing down, really understanding the person. So my enrollment process of clients, which I can't get into full detail here, but the process rarely takes less than 3 sessions. Sometimes it takes 5 sessions, 5 times of connecting, serving, giving resources, helping, solving problems, right? Because I'm not there to impress, I'm there to serve. Okay, I hope that makes sense. That's the first discipline or principle I want to share with you. It's about learning to sell without selling. It's about turning pro, not looking pro. It's about getting hours on the court, coaching, right? So, second one I want to share that I feel is really important is honoring conversations, right? Honoring conversations. When you're a coach, this is your job. Conversations. Now, I'm going to, Margriet, I haven't organized this with you, but we'll craft a short email and send out to everybody in the webinar or in the workshop, and I'll add this as an exercise you can do. Right? This is an exercise that we routinely go through with our coaches. So what this exercise is all about is go have a look at your calendar in the last 3 months and take the time and go count how many new conversations, to how many new people have you been connected in conversation. Coaching happens in conversation. No conversation, no coaching. So how many conversations, how many connections? Go have a look at your calendar, go check it out. Take the time and slow down and actually write it down. What's the average over 3 months? How many new conversations? And then go and have a look at all the spaces, and I'll send you instructions so you can do this properly. But then go and have a look at everything you've done that is not conversations in what you call your working hours. That's not in conversation with a potential client or a client. Right? That means I'm building my website, I'm posting to social media, looking at videos on YouTube, I'm Netflixing, I'm taking the dog for a walk, whatever. How many hours in a day are you not in conversation? Right? The principle, the practice, the discipline is all about honoring conversation. And this is the rule. Now, there are different ways of getting into it, and there's a lot of details I'm skipping over, but the basic rule, when you are constantly connecting to people, building new relationships and serving those relationships, you will get clients. You will. But the initiative is on your side. And the initiative needs to be pure. Connecting for connection's sake, serving for serving's sake. Steve Chandler loves this little sentence. He says, needy is creepy. Right? If I only connect with you because I need a client, right? That's creepy. And creepiness drives people away. People feel creepy. They can feel it. They feel the neediness. So when I connected with Margriet, for instance, I really wanted to connect with Margriet. And if absolutely nothing came of that, that would have been fine. I would have not sit in a corner and sulked about it. Because Sumri said, Margriet is awesome and I wanted to meet Margriet, right? That's it. So, yeah, absolutely, LZ. Yeah. So, honoring conversations, understanding that all, yes, Carla, yes. So, understanding that your sales will happen in conversation. The more time you spend in conversation with a potential client, I'm talking about actual conversation. This can happen through written as well, not as effective, but it can. But the more time you spend in actual conversation with your client, the more you build a relationship and the more likely they'll commit to a coaching process. But more importantly, the more powerful the coaching process will be. Because the actual leverage in a coaching process is not your skill set, right? It's not your skill set. That helps. But the real leverage that creates the difference is the quality of trust in the relationship. I'm not talking about having the right 45-degree angle and mirroring so that mirror neurons fire and they feel a bit better. No, I'm talking about real connection and relationship be real, care, and trust, it takes time to build. Right? It takes time to build. But when there's a real relationship, what happens in the coaching process looks completely different. It has a power, it has a depth, it has a grounding to it. Okay, so honor conversation. And I'm sending you an exercise that you can go check for yourself. You can go grade yourself. It may be a bit uncomfortable. And I got this exercise from Carolyn Fryer Jones herself from her coaching school, and I have her permission to share it with you. Right? So I'm going to share it with you, and then you can actually go and grade yourself. Give yourself a grade and see where you're at in terms of the actual process of creating clients. The 20% that gives you 80% of the results. That's conversation. Okay. Last one I really want to share with you is the one that takes a lifetime to master. Steve Chandler says he's writing a book. He's calling it something like the 12 steps to become a professional coach in 65 years. Right? Because it's about staying in this game and always improving. But this is the crucial one. And this is, I can't overemphasize this discipline. And this is the discipline of slowing down. Slowing down. Increasing the quality. Carla, I can see you're not having fun with the idea of slowing down. Increasing the quality of the connections and not the quantity. Slowing down. You know, when people, have you ever felt lost in a city? You know, GPS switched off. I'm of that generation. If somebody starts giving me directions, they're like, then you go down Generaal, what's his name? And then you go up Piet Gert, Derde, whatever. Then I'm like, just give me the address because I'm going to put it in my GPS. You lost me already. Right. So I'm from that generation. And if that GPS switches off, which it did the other day, and I was somewhere in Sandton or something, when it switches off, I'm lost. And then I realized I'm actually driving faster. Like, where am I going? And my thought process goes much faster. Right? So when we feel lost in the unknown, we tend to try and speed up. And it very rarely helps. Right? So you don't necessarily at this point need to believe that slowing down will benefit you greatly. You don't necessarily have to take my word for it. Just be open for the possibility. Just look into the direction I'm pointing you. And if it doesn't work, perfect. But this is the most powerful discipline I've learned. And I get reminded by this every single week by my own, in the group, in the coaching where I'm participating at the moment. So this is a beautiful story that Steve shares. I want to share this story with you. He had a coach. He was helping this coach, and the coach came to him and said, I really need to get new clients. My list of people I think I can contact is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I only have one paying engagement. So you have to help me. I need to get more clients. And Steve said, well, let's slow down. Tell me about your engagement. Tell me about, as well, it's just a keynote I'm going to do for a company, but I don't have any other keynotes lined up, and I don't have any other clients lined up. So I have this keynote. And Steve said, slow down. What do you know about the company? Well, I know in which sector it is. I know one guy who referred me there, and I'll be doing the keynote. And Steve said, okay, let's slow down. What about you go to your contact there who's organizing everything? Ask them if you can do 15-minute interviews with some of their key personnel. And because you want to get a sense of what they're really experiencing, so you can adapt the keynote to give them maximum value. So he went and he sat down, and he sat down for 15 minutes with 30 people, 30 different people. You can do the calculation of the time spent, right? And as he was doing the interviews with real curiosity, he realized that these people need coaching. They have no support. They're feeling overwhelmed. So he designed the keynote that really very, very effectively helped the people actually. But then he went to the CFO because he had a relationship, and he said, listen, I can help you with this. Right? And then he got a whole year's worth of work in one company, more than he can do on his own. Because he slowed down and he found ways to serve where he's actually at the moment. Right? Slow down. One conversation at a time. When I onboard clients with me, coaches who want to create businesses, we normally make an agreement that we're going to partner to create one client. Right? All your focus and resources is going into applying the disciplines, applying the practices to create one client. I haven't met a coach who's not able to create one client if all their resources are pointing in that direction, if they've slowed down enough. And by the time they've created one, they've suddenly created 5. What's going on? But we want to create a system where clients come running to us instead of actually slowing down, doing the work. Right? So there's a story about the ultimate coach, Steve Hardison, who, if you go look at some of the biggest coaches in the world, you'll most likely find they've been coached by Steve Hardison. He's the coach's coach. And there's a story about Steve Hardison that was enrolling a potential client, CEO of a major corporation, and he found out that the CEO is dedicated to Islam, right? So Steve Hardison went and he read the whole Quran. He read the whole Quran to try and understand what his client is experiencing better. That one client, the relationship with that one client can serve him for years. Right? That's it. So if you follow some of these principles, and I'm just touching the top of the iceberg, but if you follow some of these principles, I hope it's created some excitement and hope in your world, because it's very doable. I get up every morning and I know what I have to do. It's doable and exciting, and it's fun to serve. However, if you do it really well and you get to the point where you talk about the client becoming a client, right? Actually enrolling as a client, most of the time the question won't be, when do we start? The question will be, can we keep doing this? Right? Can we keep doing this? Because that's what a lot of coaches do. They try to give the person a taste of coaching, so they would want more. Just give them, but then hold back. Give them a taste, but hold back so they have to buy. It's like a trailer of a movie. This is going to be amazing, but you have to go watch the movie, right? That's what a lot of coaches, how they approach it. Our approach is throw the kitchen sink. What is the absolute maximum value you can give? Right. So that's a bit of the background. I want to give Sumari a chance to share a bit of her experience, and we'll do it in the format of questions and question and answer, like a short little interview. Just also from her perspective, I think that may be helpful as well. Sumari, are you ready?
Indeed.
Oh, I was like, so this isn't scripted. So Sumari has opened up the doors, Pandora's box. I've been looking forward to this, Sumari, because I haven't told you what I'm going to ask. So now we're here. Sumari, I just want you to maybe reflect on and just share, what was your experience getting very good training hats off to Margriet, getting really good training, but then trying to build a business before and after our conversations and you getting involved into our groups.
Okay, so we all agree Margriet is awesome. And she changed my life. And so did you, quite frankly. So that's why I had to introduce you guys. Basically, I think for me it was difficult to start a business because I am extreme introvert, right? So I never think of myself as shiny, and all these salespeople keep wanting me to be shiny, right? And I just couldn't get there. And I remember, like, I also paid like a crazy amount of money to sales training, right? To become better at what I just suck at. And I never could get there. And I remember some of my frustration with this also was that it's not really strengths-based process, because they're trying to force you to become something you're not. So I'm not wired to do the whole sales pitch stuff, but that was the recipe, right? So it caused me a lot of stress and no results anyway. And then when we started working together, I realized, this can so be easy. And I love the fact that you don't try to force us to be able to sell. We are born to be coaches. That's what we love to do. And that's the way to get clients, not having to suck at the sales pitch until you suck less. So the amount of easy was just, oh goodness, it's wonderful. So I love the easy part. It took so much of the pressure off.
Okay. And Sumeri, in the, what would you say was the biggest shift for you? What was the thing that made the biggest difference? What was the aha moment?
Sorry. Let me just shout at my kids. Hang on.
I didn't hear her kids just say.
I will edit this out.
No, Margriet, we don't believe in sanitized versions of people. We love that.
Okay, apologies. I didn't shout that hard. Okay, so for me, I think the biggest shift and the revelation basically was the fact that it's all about relationships and conversation, because it's so easy to get distracted with being busy with stuff and admin and posting and goodness, emails and websites, even designing a website. It's just distractions. It's not a medium to get us to where we want to go. And the conversations and the coaching is the fun part. And being able to only do that and grow a business, it's an immense amount of fun.
Sumeri, thank you so much for sharing. And I have to just say, it's such fun to like sharing this journey with you, building a coaching business. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's our basic story. I know there's so much more I would like to share, but I would love to give you a chance, whatever questions comes to mind, to take a moment and use the space. Yeah, share insights or any questions you might have. Holger, that would mean, yeah, it's your time, Margriet. Let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Nico. Okay, obviously, I'm relatively new in this game, and I think as everybody else on the platform, most certainly trying to make a sustainable business. So, I mean, you were talking earlier, and I had posed the question that, how long do you hold on to your coachee? And when I'm saying the word coachee, I'm actually visualizing an individual person, because the reason why I posed that question is that you said you had 10 clients, and you know, in my mind, a coach's intervention is fairly short term. Now, subsequent to the comments, I saw Margriet saying that she has been with her coach for 5 years, going on to 6. Obviously, I think that part of the relationship, I love it, and I think that'll come very easy to me. But you know, the relationship spills over into a friendship, and do you charge your friends for your time? You know, is a client an organization that comprises of maybe 500 people, and at the end of the day, you're the coach for 500? You know, so I'm trying to understand that concept. You know, Windhoek is relatively small, and your idea of sell by not selling is relatively easy in Windhoek, but getting through the door and having that meaningful conversation with your anchor person there also, you know, is doable, and I think it's actually, I think I will actually be able to do that quite easily. But what thereafter? Because I see the coachee as an individual person. Maybe an employee, or maybe 10 employees in the organization. I take them through the Clifton Strength product, which I think is absolutely amazing. But, you know, once they have claimed it after having aimed it, do you, I mean, my line and my telephone line and is always open for a follow-up on the discussion. But I understand this coaching to be maybe, you know, in a complex situation, maybe a 6-hour intervention. Help me here, Nico. You know, I don't know, because then I need to find the next client, and it might be 5 in one organization, but you know, 5 times 6 is 30 hours. There are plenty more hours to go around. You know, so yeah. Okay, so do you understand what I'm trying to pitch? I don't know whether others have the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me have a go at it.
Okay.
If it's a swing and a miss, then we'll just adapt, right?
Yeah, then we slow down. You know?
Yeah, so we'll just slow down, and I'll ask you a few more questions to try and understand.
Yeah.
So the first thing, I'm going to address it in little parts, right? So the first thing is the client becomes a friend, right? And that it really does happen.
Yeah.
Because you get so close to these people, and there's nothing wrong with that part. But what we do, and we teach a protocol, what we call social self, professional self.
Okay.
Right? And your social self is the self that you've created over years to fit into your community, to fit into your world, into your social world. We've been trained from a very young age. Like Sumeri just went, she was shouting down at the children. She's training them. What is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Right? She's creating some social selves, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. We need a social self. The problem is that when we have a business and a coaching business, and that social self bleeds into our coaching business, right? We solve this. We work on creating, this is an intentional process, a robust professional self. Now, can you have a friend, right? Can you be friends with the doctor on Windhoek?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. He charges me when I go see him.
Yeah. And he can still be your friends. He can still go and fishing with you, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you walk into the office, he's the doctor and you're the client. All right? So it's about learning to create a robust professional self. Now, this is a whole topic. We can do a whole workshop just on social self and professional self. It's about creating that identity and professional identity as coach and owning it. Right? So that's the one part. That's solvable. Right?
Yeah.
And also very important.
Yeah.
Right? Or else you're halfway through the coaching process. You've been working for 5 hours with somebody, and you're halfway through the process. Now those lines have already become blurred. There's already more a friend, right? So this we call role reversal. You've lost the leadership in the coaching process. and that it does not serve your client, and that does not serve the outcomes of your client. So that's a skill. That's one of the skills we actually teach and train. It's the skill of creating a professional self, right? And being very aware of the possibility of role reversal. You need to be the coach, they need to be the client. Right? So that's the one part of it. The second part of it is, it all depends on what your business model, what you would like to create. And I hope you hear my usage of the word create, because this is in your hands. There is no way, there's no specific, this is how a coaching business works. The question is, how do you want to operate? What makes you come alive? Now, in terms of a coaching process, that first part where you explore the strengths and help them solve the immediate problems, I love that part. But in my mind, that is just the foundation. We have not built a house. Now that you have this, what do you want to create in your world? Right? What happens if we can partner? In the next 6 months, what happens if we can partner on creating X, Y, Z? Right? So to give you an idea of how packages work in our world, we normally see clients on a bi-weekly basis, right? And we normally see clients for 6 months to a year. Okay.
So is that client an individual?
It may be. It may be I'm talking more about individual clients here, right? So I have space for 10 individual clients, but I still work with companies as well. Sure. But the 10 individual companies, clients, that's the heart of my business. That covers all my expenses, right? All the other things I do for fun. Not for free, for fun.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, look, all right. It makes sense. You know, the point is that one then should say, you know, the name, aim and claim would probably be the foundation, and then you work on the relationship and honor the conversation. You know, at one point, and I truly believe that that my role is to empower people. But there comes a time when this coachee has been empowered to the point that they no longer need me. Now, in your world, what's that time span?
So in my world,
because I do not want to become a mentor.
Yeah.
I need to be a coach.
Yeah. So in my world, my clients never need me. Okay. In my world, coaching is not a necessity; it's a luxury. I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a counselor. So I'm not fixing you. Right? I'm supporting you to get what you want to get. And I'll bring every single bit of enthusiasm, skill, resource I have to bear on helping you solve it. I'm in your corner. I'm a lifeline. I'm a helpline. I'm not fixing people. Right? The Greek word for therapy, therapos means healing. I'm not a healer, although obviously it's not a clean intersection, although there are parts where you need some healing to do the next thing.
Sure.
Right? But I don't sell coaching, I sell what you want to do. Right? Coaching is just what we call the process. So when a client resigns, when a client renewal, then they said, I would like 6 months additional of the support. That's true. But when a client starts, right, I would like to in the next 6 months, I'd like to transition from this job to a next. Right? Or I'd like to, there's a lot of toxicity in my relationships. I'd like to recreate my relationships. Right? Or I'm not keeping commitments to myself. I'm not in integrity with myself. So there now, 6 months later, we can make a real dent in that. Right? Does it help?
Yeah, I'm going to need to get my head around this.
Slow down.
You know,
Slow down.
yeah. No, I definitely have to slow down because, quite frankly, you know, whilst I am absolutely in favor of building a relationship and continuing a long-term discussion, geez, I tell you, I don't know how I would feel if this guy would phone me at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, you know, I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that, thank you, Nico. I have to get my head around that and build my own image or create my own, you know.
Yeah, what you want. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Holger, I'd have nobody calling me at 1 o'clock. That would be a
Yeah.
breach of our agreement.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So coaches eliminate expectations and create powerful agreements. Agreements where the client says, yes, I agree. So we decide how we are going to communicate, how much we're going to communicate. Right. And this is another crucial skill. We're talking about distinctions. The one distinction, social self versus professional self.
Yeah.
Second distinction that I love to share is just agreements versus expectations. This is why it's so powerful to keep on to be in a conversation and serve fully before the client enrolls, because there's no expectation of what this is going to be. This is we're already busy with. You know exactly what you're going to get. Right.
Nico, I'm taking up a lot of time of the other guys, but thank you very much.
Thank you for the beautiful questions.
Absolutely. There are probably hundreds of other questions. And I may get in touch with you going down the line on a one-on-one. Thanks very much.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. More than welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
More questions, concerns, ideas? Carla, you were typing something. You want to share it? Oh, how do you price your coaching? That's the question. Carla, how do you price your coaching? I'll tell you how I price my coaching at the moment, but you can tell me, how do you price your coaching?
Yeah, so for me, it depends on the client. If it's a corporate client, I often do a 50% deposit. Then I know, and I say to honor the commitment. I know with people that's doing that in their personal capacity, they cannot always afford that. It's a cash flow thing. So I coach at the end of the month. When I do the Clifton Strings, they have to pay that beforehand. And then I do packages for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carla, I'm in a coaching school with Carolyn Fryer-Jones at the moment, right? And the pricing and packaging varies greatly, and depending on who the market is you want to serve, right? So that varies greatly. We have an awesome resource also about how do you price your coaching. Now, what we normally tell coaches is you start with a price you're really comfortable with, meaning you can say your price like you can say your cell phone number. And that's where we start. Then you fill up your practice. You apply the disciplines until you're at the capacity that you would like to work at. So to me, that was 10 clients. Then as you go through the process and you onboard new clients, you've created limitation. You only have 10 spots. And you don't have to onboard every person you serve. I'm helping a lot of people that I'm not onboarding them as clients. I don't have space, right? But then when you onboard new clients, you raise your prices. And now every time you raise your prices, you will go through a mini panic attack, right? And you'll have a lot of stories about money, what you're making money mean. They're not true. Right. So one of the we do a beyond coaching, we do a creating clients group. I take 18 clients, 18 coaches through a 6-month process where we install all these disciplines and we help you get feedback, and it's quite an intense process. But in 6 months you build your basic business. But in this process, one of the legs that we never neglect is focusing on working with the coach's relationship with money. it will seep into everything you do in a coaching business, your relationship with money. So we want to get it really resourceful. And I'm working on this as well. So to give you an idea, this is not what we're charging for the groups, but my one-on-one coaching at the moment, I'm charging 100,000 Rand for 6 months of coaching, right? It took me so much time to be comfortable, and such amount of neediness and creepiness and weirdness while I was raising my prices. My clients don't even blink. They don't even blink. Now I'm in the school, the coaching school I'm at. It is by far, I am the lowest earning coach in the school. By far, by a very large margin. Actually, there's a coach in the school who's an ex-South African who's now based in Canada. And she's been on this road, this serving based coaching road for 3 years, 4 years now, with support from people like Steve and Carolyn. And she has now upped her prices to, I think she charges $16,000 for a year's coaching, and she only has year packages. Now, when I said in the live group, I said I'm charging 100,000 Rand, is about $5,500 for my coaching, right? Carolyn made a remark that's really good. Everybody has to start somewhere, right? And she started laughing because, like, the South African context looks different, right? And Carolyn doesn't necessarily get it. But I also have a lot of stories about the South African context, and this is how I know it. One of the coaches in the group's called Clay, and I told Carolyn, listen, Carolyn, the South African context is really different. We like our economy, and we're struggling, and all load shedding, and all the things that's happening here. And then Clay put up his hand. And he's like, Nico, I get what you're saying, but I have 3 clients from South Africa. He's an American. Like, I know what you're saying, right? But if you want to create those clients, you can create them. Just as an example. So I'm laughing because I have coaches working with me that are charging 600 Rand a session, right? And that's a lot for them now. Right? To them, that's really hard. When they started working with me, they were charging 250 Rand a session. Right? That's their money story. There's no difference between that and what I'm doing. It's just their money story. The thought that you can charge I spoke to one of the coaches this morning, you can charge 10,000 Rand for 6 months of coaching, because we don't sell per session. We sell a whole experience. Right? The thought that you can pay 10,000 Rand for this coach, because I challenged him. So listen, 10,000 Rand for 6 months. And that puts him up to like 850 Rand a session, something. That was really, really hard for him. Right? But he's already in conversation. By next week, he's going to sell his first package. That's it. Right? That's how it works. I hope that helps. Just to think about it. Do you find it helpful? More questions?
Yeah, it confirms my thinking. For me, it's in company, I charge a different amount for in company, because I know companies can pay, versus people in personal coaching that I also do, to split that up.
Yeah, absolutely. I
That's
also do, but I charge more in person than I do for companies. Right.
Okay, that's interesting to hear.
So just because I work one-on-one, I don't regularly work one-on-one with people in companies. Right. Whereas in the private side, I work a lot of one-on-one. But again, there's no set way. You need to design. You are responsible for creating the coaching business you want to work in. That's your job. All right, awesome. Thanks for the question. Any more questions? Where are we now? I'm not even looking at the time. Okay, we still have some time. Sometimes. Derek, you have a question. Oh, no, Derek just posted
he just left. So
Okay.
we've got time for about one more person. So if there's one more person who wants to ask a question, Lillian, maybe Nora, I know you've got questions. So Nico, just to give you an idea, usually we do the master classes for an hour, and that's why you saw a lot of people left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But this one we've scheduled for an hour and a half to give enough time for questions because there was a need.
Yeah, absolutely. No
Nico,
problem.
maybe I have a question here. I know I see I've got a nice backdrop as well. Anyway, and Nico, I'm serving here in Germany, South African.
Wow.
Have a lot of clients at the moment, currently 8, but none paying clients. And I still have this burning question of just how do we start to get paying clients? I work in a non-profit organization, so it's much easier to get clients. And I have had that luxury, I think, to practice in the backyard. But the burning question is probably this whole thing of, just how do you get that first paying client?
Absolutely. So am I hearing you correctly that you work in a non-profit in Germany, right? And then that gave you the opportunity to coach some of the people in the business.
Yeah.
All right. So can I just firstly acknowledge you? Well done for getting on the court and actually coaching. That's already a big step. A lot of coaches get stuck. Coaches, Michael Neal normally says coaches coaching, watching coaches, coaching coaches is not coaching.
Yeah.
Right. So you got onto the court and got some clients and started serving. So well done. I can acknowledge you for that part. Now they were all for free, like you said. Now the question is, how do you get your first paying client? Right. Now I have 1,000 questions about exactly what you're experiencing, because that would be different for each person. My first question would be, what thoughts comes to mind when you think about charging money for your coaching?
I think it's a shift. I have had paying clients, but just at this moment, currently, how do I switch to that? And it's maybe this, it's that switch from non-profit to business in a sense. And that's probably a step. Yeah. So, I mean, the thinking at the moment is just where.
Yeah. So can you tell me more? What is the weird thinking?
No, just in terms of what kind of, because the space that I'm working is very international, but it's a non-profit, so the people in the company doesn't pay necessarily to it, but yet outside in the corporate setting, people are paying, but I don't seem to be tapping into that space.
Okay, and brilliant. So you have had paying clients before. How did that work? How did you get those clients?
Probably on your first 10 minutes that you shared about the relationships and conversations and that type of things as well. Yeah. And then referrals from other people that kind of said, hey, reach out to Chris. He's doing strength finders. And then that's a big stepping stone in one sense as well. So
okay, great. So what I'm hearing you is that this is an untapped resource, and you've already experienced how relationship is the key.
Yeah, I will highly agree with that.
Yeah. So what's the shift necessary in you to get highly intentional about creating relationships with potential paying clients?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's an internal thing. I don't know.
Chris, you're a coach. It's always an internal thing.
Yeah.
Right? We get in our own ways. Right? We get in our own way. So it's about going to question whatever the story is you're telling about why you can't connect or can't build that relationships or are not building those relationships. It's about getting that story in the open and actively questioning it.
Right, yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, these people are supporting the nonprofit. There are people in the corporate world connected to the nonprofit. And there's a lot of people who can really make use of your services, where you can make a difference. So this is my motto, and this is why I have this conversation with Margriet. This is why I'm trying to give as much as I possibly can give to you guys. It's every coach we can help to start a successful coaching business is going to make a difference in their community. Right? Every coach we can get going. You can hear the activator in me, right? Every coach we can get, they're going to make a massive difference. Coaches if the money story is holding you back, if whatever is holding you back, then you're not serving this talent. Right?
Yeah.
Waiting for people to come to you. And that's just getting it started, connecting, right? So here's my challenge, right? Are you ready? Can I challenge you?
Yeah, of course. I'm activated at the start as well.
Beautiful. This is going to be too easy. Now, Chris, we're gonna murder it now, right? So here we go. What I want you to do is take a page and write down 5 names of people you would like to coach.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Cool.
Write them down.
Yeah.
And send them a message. And I'm going to send you the secret sauce to the message. This is the formulation. This is the formulation that gets the most traction. Are you ready for this? Right. It sounds like this. Hi, how are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
Just start a conversation.
Hmm.
Do a 20-minute Zoom catch up. What's going on in your life? That's it. That's the start.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Chris. Thank you. Was it helpful?
Yeah, I think so. It feels like I'm literally in between these two worlds, where I've served 25 years in this non-profit, where people don't necessarily, they expect it to, so your level, and I know that I'm coaching and I know I'm doing well. The feedback, the clients that I have is for me satisfaction, and I love that. Is getting into that. Okay, now I'm charging. It's kind of that picture that you talked about. The one that they know. Okay, this is Chris, but this is Coach Chris. And that's it's a different profile. That I need to think through that. But anyway,
Chris,
thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. I would also suggest looking into that idea of the social self and the professional self, also to go and investigate what's your belief about money and value. Because working in a non-profit, I work with coaches who were ministers in South Africa, Dutch Reformed ministers, doing everything for free and out of the goodness of their hearts, and just always crucifying themselves. So there's an exploration there. There's a growth point there for you as well if you go dive into it. And it's not just for you, all coaches. There's never a point where we've arrived in terms of your relationship with money and value. Okay, awesome. Good. One more question. Thank you, Chris.
Hi, Nico. Thanks so much for your time and stuff. So I just wanted to keep it quite practical, and thanks, Margriet, for the platform as well. So I have the opportunity to speak tomorrow at an event. And every time I speak, I tend to get some attention, which I, believe it or not, I have not actively turned that into coaching prospects. And what you taught me today is to make sure that one is being intentional and going to those meetings, being prepared. So let me tell you something. So the theme of the event is refresh and relaunch. That's on a friend's platform, and she's inviting about 6 of us to come from a panel of Q&A to just talk about 2023, how you can transition, manage yourself in retirement, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be there as an executive transition coach, and my focus is face your fear, achieve your dream.
Yeah, that's
What
beautiful.
are the 1 or 2 things that I can say that I want to coach you without saying I want to coach you?
Yeah,
without
beautiful.
using the
Yeah.
word coaching. What
Great
are those things
question.
that you just say, I need her this year, I want to work with her?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's pack this in as powerfully as we can. First things first, a lot of the time when coaches give speeches, it is quality content, but you can get it on YouTube. Right? Quality content, it's good, but you can get a lecture of Jordan Peterson saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're putting yourself in the in the speaker category, which is not necessarily bad, but if you want to get clients, you want to get into the coach category. Right. So how do you do that? Tell stories.
Okay.
Tell your own story and tell your client stories without breaching confidentiality, obviously. So Steve Chandler tells the story of when he was still building his business, they had the meet and greet for coaches at a big event, and all the coaches had like 15 minutes to just come and present a topic, right? And then there were a lot of business people there that could have been potential clients. And then afterwards, you can go and speak to the coach, right? So all the coaches went up and delivered their benefits and features and topics about whatever, resilience or whatever. And it was informative, obviously. And then Steve Hardison, the coach, Steve Hardison, went up and he said, I want to tell you about what one of my clients recently experienced. And he just started the story. So this client was really stuck with this problem he had with his team. And he just shared what they did. What was the success? What did they do together? Right? So there's a lot of learning for the people in that, but the story engages. Afterwards, there was a long queue of people waiting to speak to Steve Hardison. And there weren't people waiting to speak to the other coaches. Right? So first thing I would give you stories instead of benefits and features. Right? And then you have the chance to say, you know, this is what, then you are talking about coaching, because this is what happened in coaching for me, or this is what's happened in coaching for my clients. Stories are real, they're genuine, they're powerful. And then when people hear that, because people don't necessarily, when you're in the process of enrollment, the client actually they're not having a problem believing your credentials. They're having a problem trusting themselves. Most people think, I hear you, Nico, but that I can't do that. Right? They don't think you won't keep your end of the bargain. They're not mistrusting you. Most of the time, they're mistrusting. Can I do it? I've been trying to change this for years. Can I change this? I don't think so. Now they hear a story about somebody else changing or transforming or winning through coaching, and then, oh, if they can do that, it's maybe possible. So it resonates with people on that level. And then, Falake, I would encourage you to slow down, meaning connect with the people, and then try to get into conversation with people that you yourself have found interesting, that you yourself feel like, yo, I can support, you know, I'll send you a resource. Get into conversation, right? Take it offline, take it away from this mass. Don't wait for people to come to you, right? Not all those people will become your clients, but intentionally get into conversation. Look for creative ways how you can get into conversation. Is it helpful?
It is helpful, Nico. Thank you so much. It really resonates, and it gets my head in the right, right mindset, right frame as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Margriet, I think that's what we have time for, right?
Thank you very much, Nico. This was so engaging. Lots of tips for us all. We look forward to to journey with you. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Good.
Oh,
We'll there's a couple of things that you sent, or that you said you will send, and we'll just distribute it to everyone. So so thanks for that. Thanks for your time, Nico. It's really been a great way in how you serve us. So appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Carla, yes, aircons. Oh, from the devil. Yes.
Thank you,
So,
everybody.
cool. Thanks.
There
I'll
we
be
go.
hanging around. If you want to chat about anything, guys, you're welcome to do that. But we're officially closing this now. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay.